Hi, and welcome to another episode of Fitness and Friends. I am your humble host, Dr. Bob Ruano. Before I introduce today's guest, I have some exciting news, at least for me. We have a title sponsor. The title sponsor is Advantage Personnel Resources, APR. Now, they are a payroll work comp employee benefits service company, and they first came across my radar 6 or 7 years ago when I read this book. It was called The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, and if you follow any podcast, you probably know who Tim Ferriss is. Anyways, this book spent 4 years as a New York Times bestseller. And the big takeaway that I took from that book, it was really about like how to hack your business. In other words, what's the most efficient way to build that brand. And again, the takeaway for me was I needed to figure out what was most important in my business. And obviously that is patient care, as I'm a chiropractor, and that's patient care and relationship development. Everything else is secondary. So I looked at, well, what can I outsource? Well, certainly insurance billing, gone. We've referred that out. My accounting work, definitely not one of my strong points. Bye-bye. The next place was marketing. We don't do that much marketing, but what it is we do, again, we found a professional to take care of that. Then finally, our payroll, work comp, employee benefit stuff. Again, these are things that can be kind of a headache for a business. And if you're spending time doing that and doing those things, kind of wearing all the hats, then you really limit the time that you can spend on developing your business. So it's all about working on your business, not necessarily working in your business. So both Todd and Kevin at APR, they're a local company here. They took a look at that situation I had, and they found ways of saving money and also saving me a lot of time. And they can do that for you as well. So if you give them a call, they'll take a look at and see what you've got going on, seeing how they might be able to save you some time and money. And if you end up utilizing their services, they're offering our followers, our friends, a 3 months of free payroll services. So take advantage of that. That alone is, again, before they pull the plug on that one. But we appreciate, like I said, Kevin and Todd over at Advantage Personnel Resources. And I think there might be a phone number here down in the ticker below. Check them out. All right. So now, on to our guest today. Chris Sims. This gentleman is an almost 18-year veteran in law enforcement with the Alachua County here in town. He is a husband, a father of 3, and he is on a mission. And that mission is leading by example to improve the lives of not only himself and his family, but also his fellow officers and the community that he serves. So here to tell us about his fitness journey, Chris Sims.
Hey,
welcome to the show, and
yes,
congratulations, by the way. I heard a little promotion recently, yes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First, I just want to say, if you did not have a chance to watch the intro, you're a stud, man. You're a stud. I think if you do this with your shirt off, it probably would get a lot more
Elio
attention.
is a genius with lighting,
yes.
and
it was all lighting.
It was like Instagram.
I was kind of like bromancing over here. So, yes. So I most recently was promoted into another leadership position as a lieutenant. We consider that to be like a middle management position. The word management is something I try to always take out of, I always like to refer to it as leadership. We should always be looking to lead and grow and help others in their pursuit of growth, as well as, producing other leaders. Yeah. Because, we are not going to be in this position forever. We're not going to be, quite frankly, in this world forever. So.
Right. Well, man, this is a subject that we can jam on for a while, but we have a lot of other stuff to cover. But I think it was Abraham Lincoln. One of his generals came to him, during the Civil War, and he wanted to push his men a few more days to get deeper into this foothold. And he said, no, he has to take care of your horses. In other words, take care of those who are serving and supporting you. Because if you do that, that's only going to elevate you. And you can only do that by you talk about good characteristic, good leadership roles of being available, open to the discussion.
And we talk about that, and my big premise is serve the person, they will serve the profession.
That's fantastic. Trademark that.
That is just a principle that I've learned to live on. I will tell you this, I've made many mistakes. I've fallen flat on my face many of times. And I always talk about that. And when I talk about that, I say, listen, failure is an opportunity of growth, all right? There's a difference in failure and loss. Loss is something you are separated from, right? You're probably not going to get back. But failure is just your opportunity to grow.
Right.
And so in those moments of failure, we need to find that growth. And one of those moments of failure, right, was my health and wellness.
So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, like you said, it seems like, and the reason that I wanted to have you on the show is just been, we've been Facebook friends. We've known each other. We've met each other a while back through Orange Theory, I think,
and
my
wife.
Farrah. Exactly.
Yes, she's over there in the background.
And but just watching your posts, I mean, they're like incredibly inspirational, and you're super positive. And so I can see almost like from an outside perspective, like, man, you're going to be changing lives just by, like you said, just leading by example, essentially.
Well, so and keeping in mind, right, mindset is key. Everyone has the day that you wake up and you go, not today.
Right. Not
today. I'm going to stay in the bed. I don't want to get up. I don't want to go for a run. I don't even want to see people today, right? Yeah. I don't want to be inspirational. Quite frankly, I don't even want to touch the telephone.
Right.
But the truth is that mindset allows you the opportunity to overcome that, right? The brain is one of our most powerful tools. And so my journey began in a moment where I was, quite frankly, disgusted. I was depressed. I was anxious. I had these moments in which I realized that I was going down the same health path that every other member in my family had gone down. I could care less about the amount of food I put in my mouth, or even what the content of that food was. And I don't know what research you personally have done, but I learned a statistic that blew my mind, and it made me understand why I was so addicted to a specific food group, which was sugar.
Sure.
And the reason behind that is that most people don't know that sugar is 6 times more addictive than methamphetamine.
Yeah.
Okay? So sugar is a drug,
Wow.
and it's a toxic one, right? And so what I realized is that the more I felt depressed, the more I felt disgusted or angry or whatever, right?
The more
I
sugar you
felt
wanted.
good by eating the whole tub of ice cream, by eating the whole supersized bag of Skittles, by eating, any sugar that I could put in my mouth. And yes, I felt good for a moment, and then I crashed, right? And I was no good to anybody.
Right.
And so I began this journey very hardcore back in about 2017. I actually pulled the receipt from Orange Theory last night. I searched and searched and searched. I found it because I wanted to see, when did this really begin, right? And it began in 2017.
Okay. And with Coach Wu, apparently.
Yes, yes. I will tell you that I was very blessed to have not only Farrah, I had a young lady who has since left, Jess, I had Hasbrook, Mandy was there for a season, but I had these people who actually cared about me.
Sure.
And they also began to learn me, right? So they learned that there were times that I would take shortcuts, but I didn't want to be the shortcut person.
Right.
And so Coach Wu
Yeah.
would come over and say, bull crap, right? She would say another word.
I'm sure she would.
Bull crap. Like,
Right.
go put that up. You're slacking.
Yeah, bigger weight.
Right. But she knew. She
Yeah.
spoke to me in a language that I understood. And that's important. Accountability is very important in your journey of health and wellness. You need someone to tell you, put the effing M&Ms down, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because left on our own, we're less likely to let other people down than let ourselves down.
Well, and we're built for community. Human beings are built for community. Yes, there is a season in which we need to meditate and grow alone, but we were built for community.
Yeah.
And so you need that. You need that in everything. You need that in your financial, your spiritual, your health, your marriage.
Right.
You need that sounding board. And I will say that having a good, positive sounding board, having role models, I can look to you. And as I look to you, I can say, okay, he doesn't let anything define him. He doesn't let age or, size or
lack of hair,
any of it, right? If I looked as sexy as you bald, I'd probably be bald. But the truth is my hair is the only thing I got going for me. So here I am, okay? Yeah. That's
good. That is good. Well, I think it was last week on the show we were talking about coaching.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was last week. And that is that it's an accountability partner. but it is. It's all. It's also someone who can see bigger things in you and knows how just to accurately and gently push you and guide you, and to help you find other levels. So, yeah.
Well, and think about this. As you grow as a CrossFit athlete, do you find yourself with maximum growth when you're comfortable?
No, of course not.
No. When it hurts like hell,
yeah.
When you're super uncomfortable, maybe the movement, you're like, screw this. This is the dumbest movement I've ever heard of, right? But you begin to grow in that period of uncomfort.
Yeah. Well,
and that is fitness. No matter where you're at in fitness, is it uncomfortable? Hell yes.
Yeah.
If someone is holding you accountable,
yeah.
Hell yes. It sucks. It hurts. There's days where you go, no, I know they're going to make me run 400 meters for the next 10 rounds. Like, I'm just not a 400 meter, 10 round kind of guy today.
But once you finish it, boy, what you discover
Feel
about
like
yourself.
A hero.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was Muhammad Ali. He was asked, hey, champ, how many sit-ups do you do a day? He says, I don't know. I don't start counting until they start to hurt.
Correct.
Love that.
Correct. Yes.
So you started that in 2017. You started this journey in 2017. It sounded like your initial motivation was to, I think you said, you had some health markers that you didn't like, and you kind of saw the writing on the wall and say, okay, I'm well on my way down this path of what maybe familially what had taken place.
Yeah, and so what I'll do is I'll just give you a quick journey.
Please.
So started law enforcement back at 20 years old. Although I look probably 50, I'm only 38. Yeah, that's what law enforcement does to y'all. All right. So I started this journey at 20 years old, and when you're in your 20s, you can pretty much eat anything you want and still be pretty slim and trim. I've actually been very thin all my life. Got into a position in investigations kind of early on, a lot of sedentary time. You're sitting at a desk, typing on a computer for hours on end. Secretaries love to celebrate everything, and they celebrate it with what? Sugar and sweets, right? High glucose, right? And glucose, what does that do? Spikes insulin. Insulin causes fat storage. Well, guess what? In 1 year's time, I gained 60 pounds in 1 year. What does that mean for blood work? It looks like absolute dog crap. That's what it means, right? So now you're talking, as I continue my journey, I go back to patrol. Now I'm overweight. I'm beginning to have that cumulative stress of the high stress of calls, where 1 minute I'm talking to someone about a parcel theft, right? Their Amazon package got stolen. The next minute I'm doing CPR trying to help you stay alive. And I allow that to just continually beat me, all while I'm going through a divorce, other life situations, trying to navigate single parenting with 2 children, 2 very young children.
Right.
And I allowed myself to become a victim, right? Victim of circumstance. And I teach this, and I talk about this all the time. Victim mindsets have no place in our life, period.
Yeah.
Period. Okay, end of discussion. We are not victims, all right? We control our circumstances.
Yeah.
And so as I went through this period of life, I found myself, eventually starting to try to lose weight and all that stuff. Then I got into supervision, got into some other positions where I was very busy. I started, again, seeking the sugar and the calories and in a very negative and unhealthy way. So we push forward to me being kind of I had lost maybe like 30 of the pounds of the 60, as I began to get into a role where I was on camera a lot. So I was a media spokesperson for about a year. And I began to kind of watch and gauge, you're always watching your product to see how you can get better. And I began going, I just don't like that.
Yeah.
And I just don't like the way I look. You know, like if the camera adds 10 pounds, dude, I'm kind of roughing it here.
Yeah.
And then I began. We began at the sheriff's office doing yearly physicals, and that blood work started coming back. Not high, but high risk.
Right.
So cholesterol is hereditary, and my cholesterol levels were out of whack. Good, bad cholesterol was out of whack. My vitamin D was out of whack. I began noticing that if I continued on the same path, things like heart disease, congestive heart failure, continuing to hold belly fat because of cortisol levels. My testosterone was extremely low.
Yeah.
like bad things were going to happen,
Sure.
right? And you know, you can go into the science of all of it, but as testosterone begins to decrease, estrogen begins to increase,
Yeah.
and as men, we want to definitely watch that estrogen level, right?
You mentioned something when we spoke earlier
Yeah.
that most sort of premature deaths in your profession
Yes.
aren't at the hands of an assailant.
No, so it is we're like 60% or 70%. To give you just a generalized number, more likely in police, fire, EMS services to get heart disease over your normal citizen, and that's
60%.
Yes, and that is related to not just dietary, but it's also related to the constant stress, right? So your body is in that constant stress, even when you're just sitting in a patrol vehicle, because you are on high alert.
Absolutely.
Right, and that produces that stress level in you, that hypervigilance, as
Yep.
we call it.
Yep.
And so you know, as I begin that journey, I start with Orange Theory, and I find myself right in that first couple of workouts thinking, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I remember actually for the first year I fought it. So I should have started in 2016. My wife started in 2016, and she's saying, hey, like, you're going to like this. You're going to like this. And I fought it.
Yeah.
And I gave her every excuse, everything from, oh, these are women's workouts to, that's, I don't really need that. I need to like push the weight. I need to be a big guy. But the truth is what I need is to be healthy.
Yeah, bottom line.
You know, I need to be there for my family. I need to be there for my children. I need to be there for my peers.
Again, this is something interesting that you'd mentioned that I think we can all see, why we want to do it for ourselves or why we want to do it so we can be around for our kids. But I didn't take into consideration doing it for, your fellow officers, you know, your partners. I can imagine a situation where you're out on a call and the last thing, and say you're pursued on foot someone.
Yes, sir.
And you guys are broken up due to fitness differentials, and now that partner or you is out there alone.
When I want you to think about this, so I want you to take a moment to think about the hardened criminal, right? So, is that a majority of our community? No. So is that is the majority of our interactions violent encounters? No, but they do happen, and when they happen, right, they happen instantly.
Right.
You literally go from you and I having a conversation to you realizing that I'm about to find out that something is there that's going to cause you to go into handcuffs, right?
Right.
Take your freedom from you. Oftentimes, those people have been here before. So let's say you get sent off to prison or a jail cell or whatever for 12 months, 2 years, 5 years. You have all the time on your hands to do what? Push-ups, sit-ups, run the yard, right?
Yeah.
Use the weight stack. So what happens is that you become so mentally and physically conditioned that you're actually more ready for the fight than the law enforcement officer who may have just been arguing with his wife 10 minutes before shift about what the kids had for dinner or the dishes weren't done or what have you, and then brought all that with them, okay, and haven't gone to the gym in 6 months.
Yeah.
And so what we have to remember is that cardiovascular health in law enforcement actually, in my opinion, is far greater a necessity than big
Benching
muscles.
weights. Oh,
okay? And the reason is because I just need you to hold on until the troops arrive.
Right.
Okay? And so for me, I've transitioned into that. I don't need to be the biggest guy. Trust me, we have them. I mean, they are
some monsters.
We've got a sergeant on my shift right now that, I mean, the minute he walks into a room, he commands presence. Everybody's like, don't ever call that guy, right? So all I need to do is hold on.
Yeah.
But if I don't have the cardiovascular strength just to hold on, all right, and just hold tight with what I have, I'm done.
Right.
I'm done. And all the tools for them to harm me or kill me are on my belt. I brought them to the fight.
That's right. That's right. Oh, that's that's the physical aspect of it, the cardiovascular aspect. But the emotional stresses you kind of touched on, and you mentioned this as well. When you go out on shift, say the night shift, there's a almost like a little protocol that you said your wife does. And I think this really hit home for me. Like, I cannot imagine.
She's probably going to kill me for this.
Sorry, Stacy.
Yeah.
But much respect to you,
Yes.
because this, Farrah and I were talking about it last night. Like, how challenging would that be? And do you want to share that?
I will. And she would want this shared. It's just...
I know.
But
what this does,
we'll get through it.
This gives a personality, and maybe creates a little more empathy for what it is you guys do day in, day out.
Yes. So to touch on this, right? My wife. I work usually 14 days a month because we work 12-hour shifts. So 14 to 15 days in a month cycle. I do work the night shift. I work 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And on those nights that I work, my wife ensures that the lights to the front porch are always illuminated so that our house can be found expeditiously. And she also ensures that when she goes to bed clothed properly. So undergarments, workout clothes or something like that, with the belief that should I be seriously injured or unfortunately killed in the line of duty, she has the opportunity to see who is at the door, mentally understand what is being done, what is processing, and that she can be decent when she answers the door.
How about that, babe?
And
I know she's puts her in tears.
It's difficult, and we just talked about the transition, right? So we talked about the fact that I had received another promotion and I've moved forward in leadership, and one of those things that really put us in a kind of an emotional state for a moment is that I've been with the same group of guys now for a period of about 3 years. We have formed this family bond to the point where they even come to my home to do things like surprise my wife for Mother's Day, surprise my kids for their birthday, and some of that you've probably seen me post. Yeah. My wife and I had a moment of emotion because I'm moving to a new shift where she doesn't know anyone. Right. She has built trust in these men to help me get home. Right. And now she feels like there's uncertainty in life, right? Sure. It's not that she doesn't just trust, but she knows that these human beings are fighting as hard for me as I am for myself to get back, and she knows that I'm fighting for them. Yeah. And so when she began to break down, her thing was, I never worried that they would get you home. No matter how they got you home, they would make sure that you got home to me in some form or fashion, and now I'm just uncertain. Yeah. I'm sure the new crew will be. I have no doubt. Yeah. I have no doubt. There is no doubt in my mind that inherently you are a leader. The minute that you show us that you have the capability of wearing the badge with honor, the one thing that we talk about is we give you a bright, shiny badge. Don't ever tarnish this badge. I never want to see you show up with tarnish on your badge. Right? One badge is exemplary to the entire agency. All right? One patrol. That is probably the first and sometimes the last contact you will have with law enforcement. Maybe your tag light was out, all right? That encounter will impact how you view law enforcement. Yeah. Because it's personal to you. And
we've seen that on the negative side.
Correct.
Over the last couple of years. And, and again, I think having conversations like this will really kind of make people kind of stop and say, wait a second, what am I basing, if I have a negative opinion of law enforcement, what am I basing it on? Chances are you're basing it on somebody else's opinion who has no idea as well. So, I thought that was really important that we touch on here.
Well, and in talking about mental and emotional health, one of the things that we talked about, was post-traumatic stress, cumulative stress. Yeah. Cumulative stress is more kind of primary in our job, and it leads to post-traumatic stress. So yes, we have seen law enforcement officers who have that one just absolutely horrific event. There have been several in Alachua County. And so you can see post-traumatic stress based upon one incident, but normally where law enforcement suffer from the most mental or emotional stress is cumulative stress, which means, we tell everybody, take your hand like this, and start flicking, And so, hey, this doesn't hurt too bad, but I want you to do this for an hour, right?
Yeah.
It's going to start getting tender, right? It's like that water drop. It's like that drop of just one incident after the next incident after the next incident, to the point where it all builds up and you found no outlet for that.
Right.
And what I've found is, and there's a lot of research to support this, is that gut health and emotional health go hand in hand. Okay, that mitochondrial DNA down in your stomach that is just getting beat and beat and beat because you're eating the processed, nasty Burger King, Wendy's, fast food, not all to your own fault, right? I mean, yeah, some of it is to your fault. You failed to prepare, but that in itself, that's what was happening to me.
Right.
Why was I feeling like dog crap? Why was I feeling depressed or anxious or what have you? Because my gut health was shit.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, but that's what it was.
Yeah, no, for sure. We have a good friend of ours that just went through a bout of that, and some gut issues led to, pretty severe depression.
Yeah.
And again, you start seeking help for that, and everyone's going directly to.
Chemical imbalance.
Exactly. Okay, it's a psychological issue. Let's treat it. But he found a really good practitioner that said, you know what? Wait a second. Let's clear out the gut and see what happens. Sure enough, it made a big swing within 6 months. There's a lot to that. I think more and more science is coming out on that, and so it's just getting the message out there. And I think that's what you're doing a great job of.
Well, it's learning how to fuel your body, right? Fuel your body for success.
Yeah,
and the fuel in which we bring in ultimately will project on our work product. Half of why we're tired and everything else. Yes, some of it's shift work, but some of it's downing massive amounts of caffeine, whereas we can use proteins and good fats and certain carbohydrates to fuel our body.
Right.
And take us out of that state of just lethargy, lethargy or whatever you call it, just being lethargic.
Lethargy. Getting back to the sort of the physical responsibilities of an officer. Yeah, has there been a change in that? Is it a little more directive to kind of take care of your own physical wellness?
So I believe so. I'll tell you, when I went to the, I'm more of the dinosaur at the 18-year mark, but when I went to the police academy, you literally sat at a desk, read, watched over books, took tests. There wasn't even a whole lot of scenario-based training, which is what we've done for a period of time now. And physical fitness was just running, right? Maybe you did some push-ups, maybe you didn't. Most of it was just running, and it was running in formation. So, I don't know how many runners we have out there, but when you run in formation, right, your stride is subject to the person in front of you, and for a guy with long legs, a lot of shin splints came from that. So moving forward, our law enforcement academy here in Alachua County, we're a good-sized county. We're lucky enough to have our own law enforcement academy, and they primarily use CrossFit as a interval training and functional fitness training for the police academy. So, yes, running and all that is involved, but they are learning that the mechanism in which CrossFit operates under, and I'm very infant stages of CrossFit. We talked about this.
Well, yeah, we do. We've got a new CrossFit.
Right, my first workout,
Congratulations.
First workout. But we're learning that functional fitness relates to everything, to include the core being strengthened for the purpose of protecting you from the amount of equipment that you're carrying, so lower lumbar issues. Also in how to use your core to properly fall when you're challenged by something that causes you to fall, as well as how to produce that core balance strength to get back up in that ability to begin if the fight is brought, right?
Sure.
And how that core structure really is going to help you hold on, as I say, until we get those resources.
Well, I'm sure you say you're like in the infancy stages of it. I'm sure you're going to excel at it because that's just, you've got the mindset.
It's my hope. It's my hope. I hate to lose. Like, I am very competitive.
Yeah, well, and that's a good and a bad thing in CrossFit.
Right.
But it sounds like you're doing it correctly. You're with a coach who is taking you from the ground floor, and is going to slowly and systemically build that foundation.
Right.
Now that's fantastic.
So we have gone into fitness, and we've also at our agency, which I have to give mad props to the sheriff's office for this. But we've gone into also heart health, blood work, imaging. So once every 3 years, you get a free life scan. Life scan is out of Jacksonville. The life scan out of Jacksonville is owned by a firefighter and his wife. They scan us literally from our neck down to our goodies.
Neck to nuts.
Yes, neck to nuts. There you go. So, they ensure, right? They're checking everything. They're checking kidney functions, liver functions, prostate function, everything, right? Your carotid artery, your heart. We're trying to do our best to provide preventative service, because not only are you an asset to the agency, right? You offer value to our community, but you also need to be healthy to enjoy the retirement that we're going to provide.
That you worked so hard for.
Yes, because what was happening is people were walking out the front door. It used to be the joke, right? About 6 months after retirement, old Bob over there is going to kick the bucket, and that would happen.
True. For sure.
And why did it happen? Well, because we treated our body like amusement parks. That's why it happened.
Yeah, it's sedentary lifestyle, or not sedentary, but right, that poor food intake and the stress, the constant chronic stress.
Well, and the spikes in cardiovascular, right? So like you said, you were talking about it earlier. Yeah, you're literally sitting in your car. Next thing you know, you're fighting for your life.
Yeah.
Well, yes. And what do you think that does to adrenals, as well as your heart? I mean, through the roof.
And we haven't even talked about it. Maybe we're running out of time here, but we didn't even get into how you cope with that. I know a very minor example of this, but like competing at say at the CrossFit Games, it's a 4-day event. Each day you have 2 or 3 events, and by day 3 and certainly by day 4, you're physically but also emotionally exhausted, because 2 to 3 times a day you are ramping that system up as high as you can go.
Right.
And then you've got to bring it down into rest and recovery and do it again.
At peak performance.
Right. And so by doing that, and if you don't have the ability to get, go from that fight or flight mode into that rest and recovery mode, if you don't have that ability or that skill set to do it, you can't live up here for long, because you will crash and you will burn. And I want to say I haven't done it. I haven't competed at the games where if you have a field of 20 going in, that all of them have been finished, because there's injuries that take place along the way, not necessarily from a particular skill, but I think it's the fatigue level, or there's a performance line that if you cross it, that's where injury occurs.
Right.
And I think the more fatigued and stressed we are, the lower that line is, the easier it is to cross over. And you guys have to deal with that day in, day out.
Well, and if you think about it, right, so the reason that your HIIT training, your high intensity interval training, or your CrossFit, which incorporates that strength as well as your interval training, the reason that is so appealing in the world of public service as it relates to emergency services, police, fire, paramedics, is because we have those peak moments. So we have those moments of things being intense, and they're intense though for short durations. And so what I noticed just by one workout yesterday in CrossFit, right, is, hey, let's gauge, let's get a baseline of where you're at. But this baseline is only going to last 7 minutes, right? But in that 7 minutes, I'm going to push you to the max, right? Well, that's police work. That's police work, right? And so I might have 5 to 7 minutes of high heart rate, short respiration, right? Physical exertion. Maybe I'm doing CPR. Maybe I'm carrying an injured person out of a building to a rescue.
Like you said earlier, until the troops arrive.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then things settle down, right? Yeah. So if you train your body in those same instances, if we stress-induced training, if we stress-induce the body in these interval training moments, right? We add a little bit of weight, a little bit of resistance. Sometimes, we're sticking to the cardio, then we come back to the resistance. As we do that, right, we begin to train our body to act under stress. Yeah. All right. So we notice our forms that, like, form is a very much it's not a major muscle memory to me. Like, it's so in my opinion, right? I get this point where I'm like, okay, my form's there, and obviously you get fatigued, right? The form starts.
Exactly.
So you pay attention to those things.
Yeah.
And it's no different in law.
And that's where that good coach will help you along the way in this journey, because they'll say, okay, time to stop the intensity or slow
Correct.
it down because we broke form. We're done for now.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we could wrap on here all day because we didn't even get into this sort of this side hustle that you developed too.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, we're gonna have to redo this.
Yes.
We're gonna have
absolutely.
to have another
Absolutely.
episode if you're up for it.
I am.
That'd be terrific.
Yes.
Well, hey, I got 2 more questions
Yes,
for
sir.
you. I like to ask all the guests.
Yes.
This. And here's the first question. Have you ever experienced a setback or failure that at the time seemed devastating, but now in hindsight, it appears to be a blessing in disguise?
Yes. Yes. I unfortunately had a moment in which I thought I was at the peak of my career. I had made some errors in judgment probably 10 years prior to this peak of career. Those errors, those flaws were brought out into public light, and my family and I were embarrassed. We were devastated to the point where I was suspended from my job. I was removed of my credentials, and I ultimately thought that I was over. I thought that everything I had worked towards was done. I went through a lot of emotion. I went through a lot of different, angry, sad, depressed, mad. I was angry with the people who brought this information forward, but the truth is that it improved so much about my life. It humbled me. It improved my marriage. It improved my communication with not only my wife, but my children. It allowed me the opportunity to grow, right? It was a failure. It wasn't a loss.
Yes.
Yeah.
The waterworks are starting.
It was, and it gives me chills,
Same.
right? Because I thought it was over.
Yeah.
I thought that I had lost everything that I knew.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was totally wrong. I was totally wrong.
Yeah.
So, yes, it has happened.
Thanks for sharing that,
Yeah.
Lisa. That's very touching.
It sucked.
This last question is a very touching one,
Yes.
too. If you could do one exercise, pick one exercise for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Push-ups.
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 All right.
I love push-ups. I love push-ups.
Chest, core,
Yes.
triceps.
Yeah, I can cover up my legs. Yeah.
Chris, thank you very much for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
Like I said, I definitely want to have you back because
Yes, sir.
there's a lot more to get involved with in this
Absolutely.
subject. So, and thank you for joining us. I hope, if nothing else, you leave this with a better appreciation of what these men and women do and sacrifice for the greater good of our community. So, if you ever run into them on the streets or at the grocery store,
hey.
give them a nod and just
Give me a
let
high
them know,
five.
hey,
Yeah.
I appreciate you and I support what you do. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks,
that was
buddy.
fantastic.
Oh, that went good.
That was